Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. I would like to thank everybody for coming to the discussion meeting. It's great to see a full room this evening. And I do want to state that the school board meetings are on YouTube and they are live. So if any of you would like to check into our meetings, and they're also archived. So if you're bored and you want to go with some past school board meetings, they are there for your preview. This evening we have a very special guest with us. As you can see, it's a very exciting day today. We do have students from the government class. And they are representing all 5 of our board members today, and they started out at noon, some pizza and some things to drink, and then we started at 12:30, and we had a couple of mock committee meetings, the board members and the students, so they kind of got to understand what the role of a school board member is, and a superintendent and some administrators, and policies and governing, and the things that we get to do, and I think it was pretty enlightening from what I understand, and they enjoyed it. So this is a continuation of today. And with that being said, I would like to introduce the president for this evening is Maya Cuevas, and she is the president. And with that being said, Ms. Tracy, would you like to introduce your students? Okay. Okay, so go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chief Shepherd.
I'm Michaela Drake.
I'm Justin.
So we do have a secretary who's going to be calling the roll this evening also, and then a vice president who's also.
This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be a time for public participation as indicated on the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. Our mission is to educate, empower, and inspire us. Next on the agenda is a public comment.
Yes. So for those of you who'd like to speak under other, we're more than welcome to have you do that. There is a public comment form by Dr. Alanes. If you could please fill that out and return it in the same place, and then under other, we'll be calling you up.
Next is student staff presentations. Presentation of sports championship, Mr. Joseph.
I'd like to thank you for inviting us to come here to celebrate our team's successes from this past winter season. In attendance this evening, we have 2 wrestlers. We have Jacob Moran, who is a repeated state champion, along with Donnell Washington, who took 2nd this past year. And both of those young men are going to be traveling to IU next year on athletic scholarship for wrestling. So congratulations to them. And we also have our gymnastics team in attendance this evening. They had placed 4th at state this past season. And we have our sophomore Bobby Russell, who took 6th on the vault and 5th all around. So very nice job on all parts.
Start from the beginning, and since this is on YouTube, they might have some important people who'd like to see them. I'm not sure that they'd be able to identify them in the audience. So if you could just start over, and then we'll bring them up, and then they'll create a circle in case anybody would like a picture with also.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and start with the wrestlers again. We have 2-time state champion Jacob Moran. And Donnell Washington, state runner-up. And we will bring up Bobby Russell, our sophomore 5th all around, 6th. And then the rest of the gymnastics team, we have Sasha, we have Sydney, we have Maddie, and Jenna, and Michaela is over there also.
Let's also have Coach Barcelli come up and Coach Vega.
Coaches, come on up.
Nice try.
Coach Jen. Coach Jen.
Yes, Coach
Oh.
Jen.
Coach Jen Marcotte also.
And athletes, we'd love to shake your hands. I didn't mean to realize that.
Congratulations.
Yes, you sure did.
Yeah, congratulations.
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 That's okay.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Great job. Great job. Great job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Great job. Yes, it is. We see you a lot.
One other mention, this is, I think we would all just want to express our gratitude to Coach Vega, as this is his last seasoning as the head coach. I have no doubt he'll still be around, but I would like you to say a few words, sir.
All right. No.
Over here.
All right, thanks. It's been a pleasure, being at Portage where I went to school. It's nice to coach here. It's nice to have kids that are in the school district, and having a young wrestler. It's now time for someone else to take over, and I've had a great time dealing with. I'm pretty lucky dealing with guys that are unbelievable. Jacob was ranked 15th in the country. DJ was ranked 18th in the country. They're both going to go wrestle at IU. Jacob's going to spend next year at the Olympic Training Center training overseas doing wrestling events. So coaching for me, it becomes easy in dealing with great kids. So I'm moving on, People don't know yet, but I still will be the youth coach here. I'm going to take over and work with my son 3 days a week at the youth program at Portage, which is nice. And then 2 days a week. They probably don't want to hear it, but I'm taking a job at Purdue coaching their RTC program, dealing and training their guys that are trying to make the Olympic team. So that's just 2 nights a week, and then 3 nights a week I'll be working with the youth program here at Portage. So still be involved in wrestling. I've been involved since I was 4 years old, so I can't get away from it. But this frees up a lot more time, not having to deal with parents, and not, which takes all my time. But then being able to just free up time for the family and my kids. So.
One thing I just want to mention on behalf of, I know a lot of the parents in this audience who have worked with Coach Leroy on behalf of the students and, of course, the wrestlers, Mr. Joseph. We thank you because you truly know what it means to educate the whole child. You hold very high standards for your wrestlers. The parents know that they can trust you and have always had complete faith in your coachability and then what you've taught these boys to do to become young men. And then also with Kaylee, being a young woman and supporting her on the wrestling team. So on behalf of Portage Township Schools, I just personally want to thank you and hope you continue to stay around.
Thanks.
And Mr. Vega, I just want to say that for many years you have been coming up here to this board, and for good purposes, because you are a great coach, you have great students, and you have great students, and you do a phenomenal job, and you're going to have very big shoes to fill, and you're going to be missed, and I know you're still going to be a part of this, but you know what, you belong in part of the Olympics. That's how good you are, and that's what a great coach you are. We appreciate everything you've done for PTS, and you have put PTS on the state map and the national map. And thank you for that, sir. I appreciate everything you've done. superintendent is unable to be here this evening, so we do have,
Mr. Shepherd's gonna
Mr. Shepherd,
give us
who
the
is going
detail.
to do a great job.
So the student government election boils down to we are each given a sheet, the runners who want to go. And we have a petition we have a petition and get teacher signatures to run. And once we were a candidate, there was a online voting poll, and all the students in the senior class voted for the candidates. And a slide poll.
Very good. At this point in time, maybe this would be the time, as remember I shared with you, you want to know from your standpoint, something you've learned today, something of interest through this process. Remember, you had to think of two just in case someone takes yours.
So I have a comment, not really a question. I know that speaking to because of this day, like I've tried to learn a lot more of what's going on. I know like yesterday, like I didn't know like what was gonna happen or like even how things were working. But the conversations we've had today, I understand like their intentions are just towards the student, they try to get us to do some of our directions. And I really did appreciate that because now I know you guys really do try to focus on it.
What do you got, Jessica?
I learned today that like to be on the school board now, to be a school board member, you don't have to have the education background that I thought you did. I thought you had to have like maybe a certain amount of years of education or something that's your I learned a lot about how the budget works, how everything's split up, how you guys make decisions on where you want to get.
I actually learned that the superintendent is employed by the school board and that them up here are all in charge of her. So they're her bosses, which I didn't really know.
Mine is pretty similar to Jessica's. No, I had it. I learned that the internal and external stakeholders influence the school board.
Who oversees the internal stakeholders? Or who is the person who
Oh.
is responsible for internal stakeholders
Superintendent,
and external?
external.
Very good.
And there is that one group that goes back and forth, right?
Do you
So
remember?
if they're parents, whose stakeholders are they? The school board or the superintendent?
They're
So if they're parents, they're the superintendent stakeholders. If they're out and about taxpayers, they don't have an issue with their student, then they're.
Next on the agenda, good news reports by Mrs. Deeves Loud.
Okay, good evening. I just want to say that all the students here today did a really great job. I was kind of listening in on your meeting as you guys were having it this afternoon. And I'm glad that you guys learned a lot from your day today. So the good news report today is going to be given by Tori Henderson. She is a senior here at Portage High School. She is a member of National Honor Society. She also serves as the editor-in-chief of the school newspaper. Next year, she will be going to IU, and she's going to major in political science. I will welcome her up here.
All right, as Mrs. Stevens always said, my name is Tori, and we're just going to jump right into this. Starting off, the Portage High School Life Skills Vocational class visited the Golden Living Center in Portage to learn more about job opportunities available there. They were even able to speak with the residents and learn more about the activities offered to them. At the same time, Mrs. Robertson's fourth grade students at Saylor have been learning about programming skills. They were able to put their skills to the test by programming drones to do tricks in the air, controlled by an app on their iPads. And then let's watch.
Is there something that plays in here?
Go 2 more slides. There you go.
Sorry.
All right. Author Mark Merriman visited the students in elementary to talk to them about how he writes his books and how students can do that themselves. Merriman is the author of the famous Haunted Indiana series. Kids at Aylesworth hosted a shoe drive last month for the Souls for Souls organization, collected over 1,500 pairs of shoes in just 2 weeks. The organization donates shoes to people around the world who need them. Shoes that appear to have a little more mileage are donated to an organization that turns the soles of the shoes into ground coverings for playgrounds. And coming up soon, we have an informational meeting for next year's Washington, D.C. trip on Wednesday, April 11th at 5 p.m. at Faith Middle School. This is for any current 7th graders at both middle schools who are interested in going on the trip. And lastly, we have our Portage Robotics team's trip to the Vex Worlds competition, and you can support them by ordering your 2019 gear. Visit PTS or Portage Robotics Facebook pages and click on the link to order. The orders are due by April 16th.
Thank you very much. Dr. Allen, do you have anything to report on that?
Yes, I do. Our Portage High School seniors participated in the annual Youth Government Day, hosted by the City of Portage. The group of students each shadowed a city official for the day and learned more about our city's government. And I want to thank the social studies teachers and of course Mr. Marvin, who organized that event, as well as today's event with our students who are here for school for Governance Day. The Portage Elementary Art Show is on display currently at the Portage Public Library. So just encouraging everyone to stop by and see the amazing artwork of our students. This is the elementary students throughout the school district, and it is truly a great experience to go and see all of the art and the talent of our Portage students, and of course, the skills that are taught by our fine elementary art teachers. Also, congratulations to Alyssa Mitchell from Portage High School. She will be attending the Business Professionals of America National competition in California. She was ranked 6th in the state in the competition in March for the state of Indiana. Our 7th grade girls basketball team at Willow Creek won the 2019 Lake Porter Athletic Conference Tournament. So, of course, congratulations to those Lady Braves. A couple of things just to give some insight for the board to mark your calendar. This year's Portage High School musical Cinderella is April 12th and 13th at 7 o'clock in the East Auditorium. And prior to Saturday's performance, we've had a strong response, especially on Facebook, with hosting the Royal Tea Party with the cast for our young theater patrons, and children and their families can join Cinderella and her prince for a story, pictures, games, and of course tea and treats. As you know, we restructured the fees, and we also have some opportunity for our students at the elementary level to come see the musical during the school day, as well as our senior citizens. Registration already for 1920. It begins today and runs through April 19th. Parents are currently able to visit our school website, click on registration, and begin the process. As the board has shared before, it's a very quick and easy process, and it updates all of the information for our needs, and we're able to get those counts for next school year started. I know the board had also stated the response from the community for the wake-up call that was hosted for the county at Portage High School in coordination with the Safe Schools Commission. There was a lot of really well-received insight and feedback, and so now we are putting that on again. However, it's hosted at Valparaiso High School this time, Sunday, April 14th at 3 p.m. And I do believe they're also going to video that so that we can archive that and put that on each of our websites. The Empty Bowls project took place this Saturday at 11 a.m. It was a wonderful opportunity to see all of those talented students, and the proceeds, as you know, are donated to the Portage Food Pantry. So it's a great fundraiser and an opportunity for our students to give back to the community. And then the Portage Township YMCA is hosting the Greater Good of Porter County Love and Logic classes, which we have continued to do over the past two years. So they are also now going to be hosting that, and childcare will be provided. So we'll continue to partner with them in getting the word out about that.
Next up is agenda adjustments.
Does any board member have an agenda adjustment? Dr. Allen has?
I do not.
With that being said, now we're gonna start to the business portion of our meeting. Everybody is more than welcome to stay, or if you'd like to catch us later on YouTube, that's up to you. But if you have things to do, we understand. Have a great night. Yes.
Next on the agenda is board development.
So legislative update, that is myself. This is a pretty hefty time with legislation. And we'll do the federal one second.
Sure.
But some of the things that are, this will be the last meeting with the updates because then they will, at the state level, they will no longer be in session. And then I'll just do a general overview of all the bills, the education bills that were passed. So just so that students know, approximately every year, there's approximately 100 bills introduced just on education specifically. And obviously, the majority of them do not get passed. So some bills of significance that's moving along at the state level is school safety. And that is being looked at right now at the Senate Education and Career Development Committee. And they met, and the bill was significantly amended and will now allow a school corporation to apply the secured school funds for a matching grant. So in other words, then what a matching grant means is that we'll have to get partners outside the community for a matching grant. For the purpose of providing school-based mental health services to students or forming partnerships with mental health providers to provide such services. And also, the second provision would be on student privacy that requires parent consent for medical and mental health assessments and services. And third, to allow the Attorney General to impose a civil penalty on school corporations that violate the privacy rights of students. And fourth, last one, they deleted a provision regarding schools' participation in the Federal Centers for Disease Control Prevention Youth Risk Behaviors Survey. Handgun training for teachers, that is moving along. So this bill would allow an employee of the school district who has been authorized by the school board, and that would be you guys tonight. So what that means is that any staff member, remember we said we have approximately 1,500 employees, could come and petition the school board to carry a firearm. We would have to say yes or no. Did say yes, then that individual would have to be trained, and the school district would have to train that individual, and this bill would want us to take the funds out of this Indiana Safe School funds for the purpose of enrolling in a course in specifically the firearms training. So it could be somebody who's never carried a weapon before, they just went to school now. And that those dollars typically have already been allocated for that. So the school boards across Indiana do not like this bill because it puts the pressure on us to say yes or no, and we don't feel as though we should have that right. We think that the legislature should impose, if they're going to pass it, who should be able to get background checks, who's going to monitor it. We're not here. We're not on site. So that's a tough bill right now, and it's moving. Next bill, information concerning threats to school safety, that did pass by the House. It was amended also, and the bill would allow law enforcement officials to share investigatory records with school officials for purpose of enhancing the safety of student or school facility, and likewise would allow school officials to share information from student education records with law enforcement and other public safety officials in case of health or safety emergencies. School accountability, that one is moving also, and that specifically states that a high school may count work-based learning course, career technical education course, or as satisfying an Indiana diploma with a core 40, academic honors distinction, or other designated requirement. Student mental health is also moving through, and this bill we created a student safety awareness fund for the purpose of awarding grants to schools to fund public service announcements prepared by students to raise the student awareness on personal safety issues. Bill did pass the Senate. However, whenever it was proposed to the House Education Committee, the bill was stripped and now would allow school corporations to apply to the Secured School Fund for a matching grant again for the purpose of providing mental health services to students. And I kind of just read on that. Teacher salaries, that's kind of a big one in the state of Indiana, and that is moving also. The Senate version of the bill removed a provision that provides that a combination of experience and advanced degree may account for not more than 33.33% of the calculation used to determine an increase or increment in teacher salaries. The House Education Committee did amend the bill to restore a cap on those two factors to not more than 50% of the calculation. Also, it would allow teachers currently employed by the school corporation to receive a salary comparable to the starting base salaries of new teachers if they presently earning a salary below that offered to a new teacher. There's also what the Indiana, and I'm doing, all of us school board members get everything that I'm reading from the Indiana School Board Association. And then what they do is they call out what's called call of action alerts on different bills that they are opposed to, or they feel as though, we as school board members need to reach out to our legislature to make sure that they are on the same page, or other legislatures across the country to possibly either oppose or to get a bill to pass. And typically they are in opposition. So with that being said, I'm going to do a couple of those just so that they understand the process of how this works. So usually I don't, because school board members get it, they can just kind of read it at their own convenience. So this one is for a bill regarding increased oversight and regulation for virtual schools. So what virtual schools are in the state of Indiana is they are charter schools, and you don't have to physically be there. You can just virtually be there via technology anywhere across Indiana. Unfortunately, they have went through a lot of scrutiny, and there's some bad press out there. The majority of these students, less than 10%, actually get credits or graduate. Some never sign in, but they still remember how we talked about that funding that you get per student. They're still getting funding for this. They said that sometimes there's a ratio of over 400 students just for one teacher, even though they're virtual. And sometimes they said they don't even see the teacher besides just the lessons that are there. So it is something that I think there's approximately a handful of them in the state of Indiana. A lot of scrutiny is being looked at. So they're being looked at to possibly be cut. A lot of people just want them on the chopping block and gone because they're just not doing any service. They're not much of a service to their population. So with that being said, so now what's happening is these bills are going through to try to get them to where they need to be so that they can educate students, and obviously dollars are going to be transferred.
I have a question. So does that mean that because they are partial, they're still getting the funding from the state, even though kids are not graduating?
They do get funding from the state. They are a private for-profit school. We are public, non-for-profit. So the state of Indiana has diverted funds from public schools to private charter schools in what's considered a voucher program. So yes, they do. And Are they held to the same accountability as public schools? That's up to a debate. I'll let you guys research that. But this amendment that they're putting through here removes the homeschool exemption. So what that means is from a list of allowable reasons for a student to be removed from a graduate cohort. So in other words, this means that if passed, any student who withdraws from our school, a public school, for a reason of homeschooling will count as a dropout in your high school graduation rate, but then will be counted for them. So if you ask me to get a voucher. Next is another call to action that the Indiana School Board Association put out actually today. And this one is for Bill 390, and it's dealing with civil penalties under unfair labor practices. So, Mr. Elwood, you might want to, this one would be more pertinent to you. The committee considered and adopted an amendment that will modify the collective bargaining process to allow only one bargaining session in an executive or private session and requires all other meetings, or at least one, to transpire in public. Further, another amendment proposed to require public notice hearing and that the tentative collective bargaining agreement must be posted on the school corporation's website at least 48 hours before conducting a public hearing to discuss and ratify the tentative agreement. ISTA, ISTA, IFTA, these are unions, and the ISBA testified in opposition of this bill. Any questions? So we have what's considered the federal flash. It's a 5-minute video that kind of gives us an oversight of what's going on at the federal level with education, dollars, and legislation, and all kinds of good stuff.
A flurry of education hearings in the House of Representatives and Senate. Alfred releases a new analysis on the identification of schools for support, and the middle grades are celebrated. Hi, I'm Monica Allman, and I'm joined by Robin. Let's begin with the hearings in the House and the Senate. Robin?
It was a busy week on Capitol Hill with 5 education-related hearings. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos testified at 2 hearings about the president's 2020 budget request. When she spoke before the House, sparks flew about issues ranging from funding for charter schools and the Special Olympics to department proposals regarding how schools should handle sexual assault allegations and school discipline policies. Many Democratic members of the Appropriations Subcommittee, including Chairwoman Rosa DeLauro, raised concerns that the president's budget proposes a $60 million increase in funding for charter schools, but an overall 12% cut to the Department of Education. More on those cuts is available in our previous edition of Federal Flash. But perhaps the issue attracting the most attention was the administration's proposal to eliminate funding for the Special Olympics.
Representative Mark Pocan, a Democrat from Wisconsin, asked Secretary DeVos if she knew that 272,000 children would be affected by the administration's proposal to eliminate $17.6 million in funding for Special Olympics. The video clip of the exchange has gone viral with over 1 million views. In light of all of the negative attention, President Trump announced he is reversing course. But even if he hadn't, it's important to keep in mind that the proposed cuts to the Special Olympics were just that, a proposal. This is the 3rd year that the president's budget had proposed to eliminate Special Olympics funding, and yet Congress has continued to provide funding for the program and is likely to do so again this year.
Also this week, we released our latest analysis of how well states are promoting equity for historically underserved students as they implement the Every Student Succeeds Act. As a reminder, ESSA requires states to identify 2 categories of schools with low-performing subgroups. The first is targeted support and improvement, or TSI schools, and states have significant flexibility in how to identify them. The second is additional targeted support, or ATS schools. Unlike the TSI category, the law, not states, sets the definition of an ATS school,
That's right. Under ESSA, states can choose to select ATS schools exclusively from schools that also qualify for TSI. 9 states and Puerto Rico use this approach. In 5 states, as shown on the right, we found that this process makes sense because ATS schools are a natural subset of the state's TSI definition. But there's a catch. When states require ATS schools to first qualify for TSI, some schools that otherwise met the law's definition of an ATS school may be excluded from identification. Fortunately, as shown on the left, this was the case in only 2 states, Arkansas and Connecticut. To read our full analysis, check out the link below.
Finally, we'd like to recognize March as National Middle Level Education Month. Representative Raul Grijalva from Arizona introduced a resolution in the House to support middle level education, recognizing the importance of this time in a child's education and development. Specifically, the resolution states that neuroscience indicates that the majority of middle grade students are in a critical stage of brain development that promotes productive adulthood. The resolution also acknowledges Alfred's research findings that middle level education is underfunded, creating a missing middle in federal education funding.
That's all for today. For an email alert when the next federal flag.
So there's a couple other things that are important that I think needs to be brought up today at the federal level. What some good things for Portage Township schools and just schools in the U.S. Betsy DeVos, I explained to you, she's the superintendent at the federal level. The courts struck down some things that she has been attempting to do for a while now. So one of the things that she's been trying to do is the rollback of President Obama's implementations that he's put into school districts, such as everything from student loan forgiveness, which even though she's the education secretary, she's through higher ed. So that was one of the loan forgiveness for some students, and that did not go through. And also she's forced to carry on the Obama era policies that they have been fighting to stop. And the federal judge ruled against her for illegally postponed a regulation requiring states to identify school districts where there are significant racial disparities among the students in special education programs. And that is something that is really going to help us. And then something that did go viral, just like the video said, but it was all over the news, is that this is the 3rd year in a row that they attempted to cut completely out Special Olympics for students. And that caught a lot of attention this time, which is good. Any questions?
Next is a park department update from trustee Milano.
Yeah, so just really one thing, the park impact fee, which is a fee that builders have to pay anytime they build a new home. And that money then goes towards trails or park enhancement. So the idea is that new homes are built that puts more pressure on the park. So that was sent from the park department to the planning commission. It was approved into the city council. I believe it will be heard again at the next city council meeting. That's really the big thing.
Do you have anything on the RDC since it's even in the meeting? Do you want to report? Do you want to report?
Yeah, I was at that
Last meeting, okay. So if we could get that last meeting, since we missed it. Let you look at the meeting minutes, since we could get both of them.
Next on the agenda is old business by Dr.
I have no further update on what's currently there at this time.
With that being said, I would like to, I did see that you did give us a chart or some kind of information with the devices, but I would like that divided. I would like to see how many staff members have devices versus students. So where are they at in each building, and directors, their employees, service, because it makes it look like we have a lot more devices for our students than what's actually there. And from what I understand, there's some individuals who have more than one device, adults. Yes, and students who have 0. So we could see those numbers. And if it could be identified, we have how many of our staff members have 2.
And as Mrs. Oprisco is referring to this, the staff, the teachers in particular have iPads for instruction, and their desktops were replaced with the MacBooks, and they use those for instructional purposes as well. The iPad is very nice because they can manage the student devices in the classroom. For instance, if you're not on the app you're supposed to be on, they can freeze your screen to make sure you're right in place where they need it to be. So that's very, very helpful. And then it has also replaced that whole idea of the overhead projector and different things. And then I am really proud, and you'll see this when we have that broke down for you further, as you're mentioning here, because yes, 6 to 12 is 1-to-1, and now we have a hybrid 1-to-1 at the elementary as well. So now every kindergarten, first and second grader has an actual iPad assigned strictly to them. Those can go home. They don't necessarily go home, but they can go home. And then 3, 4, 5 have Chromebooks. So we're really moving along. So that I think that will help be able to see that because it's a good thing.
Next is new business. Acceptance of the Digital Learning Grant Award.
So we need a motion.
Motion and second.
Make a motion to accept the digital learning grant.
Second. Discussion.
Very proud of the team. Mr. Lesich, Mr. DePasquale, and Mrs. Williams developed the guidelines for this grant and how it will be implemented to include the integration of computer science into the curriculum and a year of licensing on online coding programs. As you know, this is a competitive grant, and this is the second time Portage has received the digital learning grant from the IDOE. There was a very nice article posted in the Post Tribune about this. So again, just another opportunity to advance with the innovation and be recognized for this by the state for the fact that things that we have in place, as well as those programs we're building to incorporate into further advancement and integration of technology and computer science, it's going the right direction. It's a leading practice, and we're being recognized by it and received this grant. So thanks to those of you who have written this grant.
Is there any other discussion? Call the roll.
Trustee Clancy? Yes. Trustee Gracias?
Yes.
Trustee Letta?
Yes.
Trustee Oprisco?
Yes.
Good job to all staff that was involved in this grant. Next, we have the Secured School Safety Grant Adjustment Notice. Motion and second.
Make a motion to approve the secured school safety grant adjustment.
Second. Discussion.
Dr. Elliott. This is a request to adjust the designated project for 2019, approved by the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, and we will be purchasing the digital security radios to improve emergency communication throughout the district. And this is a matching grant, as you're aware. This grant dollars have already been accepted of $50,000.
Is there any other discussion? Call roll.
Trustee Clancy?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Letta?
Yes.
Trustee Oprisco?
Yes.
Motion and second. Permission to advertise fuel bids. Discussion.
Okay, I have attached for
So we
you.
need a motion first.
Oh, sorry.
Motion.
I make a motion to advertise it.
Need a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
We have for policy 6320, the purchasing agent must seek bids for purchases exceeding $150,000. And I mentioned that only because, again, for those of you today, again, this is driven by policy. We currently have no lead gasoline and diesel fuel that expires May 31st, and I am seeking the approval to advertise for bids to purchase no lead gasoline and diesel fuel. The contract term for the new bids will be June 1st, 2019 to May 31st, 2020.
Is there any other discussion? Call roll.
Trustee Francie?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez?
Yes.
Trustee Maleta?
Yes.
Trustee O'Frisco?
Yes.
This is something we do every year. Next is an overnight field trip by the PHS Robotics Nationals on April 7th, 2019 in New Orleans. On April 27th to 29th of 2019. PHS to Anaheim, California, May 3rd to 5th, 2019 for national competition. PHS to Indianapolis for HOPSA State Conference on 4/16 and 18th and 19th. Motion and second.
Make a motion to approve the overnight field trips as read.
Second. Discussion. Call roll.
Trustee Francie?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez?
Yes.
Trustee Maleta?
Yes.
Trustee O'Frisco?
Yes.
Next, we have superintendent reports and updates from Dr. Allen.
At this point in time, I did share with you my information for the updates and look forward to bringing to you the recommendations by Mr. Lesich and his team for the printers and copiers. There has been a lot of work and effort gone into that, and I really do appreciate the time and effort that it has taken, and I think that bringing you this plan to move forward will be helpful. And I know that the board has also requested in that plan to include which printers or copiers are being off the network, where are those coming from, what we're doing. And ultimately, I'm excited to share that this is all going along kind of like with the Go Green concept. We're doing some other things with automating processes throughout the district to include this building in particular, and how that will then, again, save the trees and just make things more efficient. So eliminate room for error and just keep those processes nice and clean. So I look forward to bringing you that, and of course, I'm very grateful for the day we've had with our students. And you guys are the first group that we've done this with, and this is a request that the board asked. And I'm just really grateful that you guys were interested in it and took part, and can encourage your classmates to take part of this in the future. We've already decided that next time around, we're going to do it 2 times a year.
It's just 2 different classes, so that more students will get involved.
Next is other items not on the agenda. Next is public comment form.
Does anybody in the public have any comments? I'd like to make one comment. I'd like to say thank you also to the students for participating today and learning and asking questions. And it was a great honor to be with you today, and I appreciate it. And I know that you were all seniors. Would you like to share with everyone what your plans are?
After middle school, I'm going to Ball State University to major in music education and minor in sign language. So after high school, I will be attending Fort Wayne, majoring in mechanical engineering and minoring in political science. I will be attending IUN for my first year. I will be attending the University of Indianapolis to major in nursing and minor in biology.
I will be attending E&W. Really excited.
Chase got his acceptance today when he got home from school. Very good.
Congratulations and good luck to all of you, and come back and visit us.
And Amaya, say undecided with pride, because that means you're still thinking about it. That's a big decision. So, you're going to get those core classes out of the way, get that GPA nice and high, and then figure it out.
Anybody else have anything?
No, I just, again, spending a little bit of time this afternoon with the students, outstanding. Very attentive, asked good questions. So this is exciting. You're the inaugural group to do this with the board. So appreciate all of you volunteering and signing up. being selected to do this. So it also says a lot about you and your peers that they selected you to do this as well. So congratulations.
I'd also like to congratulate you for being first and being here with us. Government and schools and in your everyday lives as you can see some of the bills and, you know, the things that go on at the state level and the federal level, how they impact everyone, all the way down to the classroom and how teachers teach and what they teach. And so you're able to see that, and I hope that you continue to learn and grow as individuals and young people, because you are our future and we're going to depend on you.
You were elected, so you were leaders also of Portage Township. So go out and lead. Lead the world. It's yours to lead. Best wishes.
So for upcoming meetings, we have a regular board meeting on April 22nd, 2019 at 4:30 p.m. at Baden Middle School. May 6th, discussion meeting at 4:30 p.m. at the Administration Building. And on May 20th, a regular board meeting at 4:30 p.m. to be decided. The school board meeting is adjourned.
And when we don't follow a policy, we have Attorney Elwood. Who helps us out. Kick them off the table.